Дайте зброю. Так дайте нам ці гроші. Дайте нам більше снарядів.
Дайте нам вашу зброю.
Дайте нам більше F-16. І дайте нам зброю. Дайте нам ліцензії. Дайте нам кредити. Дешеві кредити, такі безумовні кредити, які є в ваших державах. На сьогодні нам потрібні гроші. Дайте нам дешеві кредити. Можна ми самі будемо вирішувати, що з цими грошима робити?
Good morning, everyone. I am Tabitha Hassell. Welcome to Tabs on Tap. Good morning, Allison. Bright and early you are this morning. As always, thank you so much for your support, Allison. You know, today's Thursday. Boy, the weeks go by very quickly, don't they? I can't believe it's already almost Friday. I don't know about you guys, but I've been so busy with work. I've been working from the time I leave this show till the time I go to bed every single night, and staying up way past my bedtime. But I know that there's some crazy weather heading into the area, from what I understand. I don't know when it's coming, but I know it's coming. So make sure you're prepared for this crazy, crazy cold weather. I hate snow. I hate winter. I'm so ready for spring and summer already, but I shouldn't complain because things have been pretty mild, haven't they? So hopefully that it won't be too crazy. Allison says, can't believe it's almost Christmas. I can't either. Good morning, Dottie and Karen. I can't believe it's almost Christmas. This year it has snuck up on me. Normally Christmas is probably the only holiday I really like. And so normally I'm ready and decorated and have everything together. I haven't wrapped one single thing. I just started buying a couple things for family members recently. I haven't wrapped a single thing. Normally I'm pretty much done, but not this year. But that's good. I'm not complaining. I've been very busy with work. And when you're busy with work, that is nothing to complain about. Happy to have the work. That's for sure. Good morning, Tammy Jerry Hoover. So much to talk about. As always, you know, the news cycle never disappoints. Lots to talk about. You know, I know people have been messaging me like crazy. Why are you still talking about the drones? Why are we talking about the drones? It's no big deal. It is still a big deal. It is still a big deal. It should actually be a bigger deal than what it is. I don't understand why not everyone's talking about the drones. You know, and I'm going to get into this, but I really wish, if there was anything I wished for in the conversation about the drones, would that people would stop focusing on New Jersey. It's not just about New Jersey. These drones are all over the world, not just New Jersey. New Jersey, for whatever reason, has taken center stage in the news. And I think that's because of the New Jersey governor, Murphy. I think it's because New Jersey congressmen have spoken out. Their state police have spoken out, and it's just getting a lot more attention in New Jersey. More people, for whatever reason, in New Jersey are posting videos, probably because they don't feel like freaks for posting videos for all the people that come out and tell them they're crazy, because so many people are doing it. Good morning, Mary. And yes, it is less than a week between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Gosh, that's crazy. That is so crazy. A week less. Oh, I see. That's probably what makes a difference. And Alan says, did you hear Congressman Van Drew from New Jersey say they are from Iran? They're not from Iran. I mean, that's the consensus. They're not from Iran. Either that or as normal, we're being lied to. I'm going to get into that here in a few minutes. I don't personally believe they're from Iran because, again, people are focusing on New Jersey. They have to stop focusing on New Jersey. It's not just about New Jersey. There were drones spotted right here in this general area just last night over by Scott Air Force Base. And I guess that would be considered Troy, Illinois. Mary Ferguson, her and I both know someone that saw the drones over in around Scott Air Force Base. They're all across the world. Iran doesn't have the capability of having these drones all across the world, nor do they have reason to do so. So we're going to talk about that here in a morning. Good morning, Mary Tainter. Good to see you this morning. And yes, congrats to Trump for Time Magazine Person of the Year. We're going to get into that. Some things I want to talk about today. We'll touch, Shiloh. Thank you, Mary. I could never figure out if that was Troy or Shiloh. Thank you for that. We're going to talk about these drones, and we're going to probably talk about the drones a little bit every day until this situation is figured out. And there's some different things that we're going to talk about today see what could be potentially happening. Now, people will say, well, it's a distraction. It's not a distraction. If you're talking about and focusing on the real news too, then it's not a distraction. It's just another topic. So I don't personally see it as a distraction. It might be to some people, but on this show, it's not a distraction because we're going to talk about the real news besides the drones. And there's certainly a lot of real news to talk about. We here in the United States under a new threat from Russia. I'm going to get into that. Ukraine is expecting an attack at any time from maybe multiple Oreshnik missiles. We're going to get into that. I want to talk about avian flu, and I'm going to be very cautious when I talk about avian flu, but I do believe it needs to be said today. And there's just a lot of different things taking place across the country. Want to touch base again on Syria just because there is more news going on in Syria. Trump person of the year. We're going to talk about Trump and Trump policies, some Russia policies. And Mary, I think they know more about these drones. They probably do know more about the drones than they're telling us. But the thing is who? Who knows more? Congress doesn't know anything. They don't know any more than we do about it. They think they do sometimes, but they really don't. The Department of Defense is where this rests entirely on the Department of Defense. If the Department of Defense doesn't act, if they don't want to talk about it, it could be something they know that they're not telling us. I don't know. I don't know. But we're definitely going to get into that here in just a bit. Other things I want to talk about. Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the first American to reach $400 billion. Can you imagine that? $400 billion. That's a lot of money, isn't it? Maybe he'll become a sponsor of my show. But I know a lot of people have a lot of mixed feelings about Elon Musk, and I will tell you what, I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think he has done so much for us Americans. He has done so much for Donald Trump, and I think this $400 billion is well deserved considering, think about this. That, yes, it's a lot of money, but he spends it very wisely. And I will tell you that he spent, and I know this as a fact, that he put hundreds of millions of dollars into this campaign to get Donald Trump elected. He didn't give the money to Donald Trump's campaign. If he did, I'm not aware of him giving money directly to the Trump campaign, but he formed his own super PAC, which is what a lot of wealthy people do when they want to support certain candidates or certain policies. And so Elon Musk formed America PAC. And as you guys know, I had the ability to go to Georgia for 42 days and to work with America PAC and some other grassroots organizations in getting out the vote for Donald Trump. And we won this election in the early vote because of Elon Musk. We owe this election to him. We really do. Well, we owe it to Trump first for being the person he is and for creating the policies that he does and for standing up for all of us when no one else would. He is certainly the leader. Not only is he Time's Person of the Year, right? But he is also now the People's Person of the Year as well. Probably the person of our lifetimes because of the change he has made. And no, it's not, for me personally, it's not about Trump the man. People will send me messages, why do you idolize Trump? Blah, blah, blah. It's not about Trump the man. If you notice, I don't even talk about Trump that much. It's not about Trump the man. It is about the policies of the man. It's about the foot in the door. It's about the change that we are all going to experience. Everything that we do, it's all going to change. Everything is going to change. Good morning, Kim. All because of Donald Trump and because of Elon Musk. I truly don't believe that Trump would have won this election if it weren't for Elon Musk and if it weren't for America PAC. And the reason why, and the reason, of course, why I was in Georgia was we needed to get the vote out from the people who don't vote often or who don't vote at all. People who are registered to vote, but are not people who typically do go out and vote. Probably the people who sit back and think, well, I'm busy, I'm working, I've got stuff to do, I don't have time to go to the polls. Or maybe they think, like a lot of people do, including myself, in ways I felt in the past, my vote doesn't count. Why bother to vote when my vote doesn't count? And so our job, and I can talk about it now because obviously the election has been won. not inaugurated yet, but has been won. So I think it's okay now to talk about the policies and what we were there doing. And our job was to go to the doors of registered voters, not just registered Republicans, but just registered voters who had voted for Trump in the past, but are not consistent voters. Or maybe they have not voted for Trump in the past, but yet still are not consistent voters, that are Republicans, but not consistent voters. So our job was to go to these doors, door to door, not walking. It wasn't a situation where we were parking our car and getting out and walking house to house, because we were only targeting people who don't vote very often, or people whose vote we didn't know we could count on. So we knocked on their door and we explained to these people, we really need your vote. This time your vote does count. This election, your vote counts. And this year you need to get out and you need to get to the polls and you need to vote, and you need to vote early on top of it. You need to vote early. And we would hand them flyers with voting resources on those flyers. And we talked to them about how they can vote early. We gave them the dates and the locations and gave them as much information and resources as we could so that they would go out and cast that early vote. We could not have done this without Elon Musk. And I can guarantee you that I drove to the highest tippy top of mountains, up treacherous roads. There was a day where I seriously didn't think I was going to make it. I was driving up to, gosh, this house, and I'm trying to think of what it was called. It was on, what a gap is, if you know what a mountainous area is. I was up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. What the gap is, that's where two mountain ranges like come together in a gap. And I got on this road thinking, oh, the house is probably just a couple of minutes up this road. It was a gravel road. There was big, tall brush on either side of me. There was definitely not enough room for two vehicles. Thankfully, I have a Jeep. And I'm driving down this road and I'm thinking, okay, I cannot see a single thing because it's nothing but tall brush around me. And, I'm going uphill. And then I'm going uphill and I'm going more uphill. I lose my cell phone signal, but I know the house is on this road. So I just keep going. And eventually I reached this area at the very top of the mountain. I kid you not, I was driving straight up. There was a point in time where I seriously thought I was going to have to step out of the car and be ill. I was so nauseous going straight up this mountain. and there's nothing at this point, there was nothing on one side of me. And I'm driving up this mountain. And I come to a sign that says you're about to cross the gap. And I thought, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? I'm by myself, by the way. My son was not with me. I was driving by myself. And he had already left and came home. And I'm driving. I'm thinking, what? No one will ever find me if something happens. They'll never find me. They'll never know I'm here. I don't have a cell phone signal. Who knows what kind of animals are out here in the woods? Who knows what kind of people are out here in the woods? And you know what? I had no choice. There was no way to turn around. It was the tiny little road. There was nowhere to go but up. So I kept going up. I kept driving. I literally, I'm breaking out in sweat thinking about it. I had no choice but to keep going up. And I finally got to this house. I really did. And it's so funny because I was thinking, man, I hope there's like a cheering squad on the other side, because I just risked my life to get to this house. And I get there, and believe it or not, what's so crazy is there was no one home, but there was an RV at the very top of this mountain, and it was just covered in Trump signs, completely covered in Trump signs, and it made the drive so worth it. It really did. But that's the type of houses we were going towards, and that's what Elon Musk paid us to do, and what Elon Musk encouraged us to do. This was his plan to take us out to these remote areas. And I'll tell you, I talked to people who they told me nobody has ever been like down this holler before. Nobody even knows where I live. And they were happy to see us. I went to one house where it was a guy, he was in his, 90s. He had his Trump shirt on. He had a MAGA hat on. I mean, he didn't even know I was going to be there. And this is just what he was wearing. This guy was in tears when he saw us pull up. We had little kids asking us if we could pass along messages to Donald Trump. The world, that's when I knew, being in Georgia, I already knew, but I really knew it solidified everything, that America wanted Donald Trump. We want him. We need him to be in this position. We need him because we were down the fast track to destruction, weren't we? And so Elon Musk deserves every penny of that $400 billion, because he's going to turn back around and he's going to put a lot of that money back into this country. Just watch, just wait and see. There's no question about it. He is already, if you follow America PAC, He is already talking about supporting Republicans for Congress, or not necessarily Republicans, good people who want the right policies for Congress. He's talking about getting involved in local elections. He knows we have to lay the groundwork and work our way back up and how far behind we are. So anyway, very much congratulations to him for becoming the first American to amass $400 billion. It's pretty wild. Good morning, Elizabeth. And Mary says Boeing's drone plant is in Mascuda. Not sure if that's what we're seeing them in this area. The ones manufactured there are the size of planes. There was one sitting out under a shelter. There's a lot of different types of drones. If you go online, it's pretty easy to look up the different types of drones and what they look like and who manufactures them and what country owns them. And I've done a lot of looking. I'm not going to get into all the details of Russia's geranium drones like I did yesterday, but their drones look a lot like kind of what we're seeing. I don't know. There's so much skepticism, if I can get the word out, over these drones. And what I think is the most entertaining fact to me is that we can watch it with our own eyes. We can see the drones. People on the ground are taking videos, and they don't appear manipulated to me. There were a whole group of state troopers, New Jersey state troopers, who made videos of themselves flying drones up into the air to try to get a better look at these. Because, these drones are not that high up. Now, some of them fly high up, but these drones come just right above the homes in some of these areas. So they're not really all that high up. So you watch these videos, you can see these things unfold, but yet people still tell me, well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That's manipulation. Or, oh, it can't be that. It just can't be that. Well, you know what? It is. It actually is that. There actually are drones flying all over the world. And I saw a video, and you don't have to believe it, but I saw a video. I don't believe it was manipulated. And this video, as I said yesterday, I'm not going to carry on about this part of the situation today, but the drone looked like a sphere. It looked like a silver sphere. I showed you guys the photo yesterday. It looked like a sphere. And then at some point it opened up and then it looked like a drone. Now that doesn't mean it's alien technology. We certainly different military contractors certainly have the ability to make a drone that travels like a sphere and opens up. It's not that big of a deal. In my opinion, it's not that big of a deal. It actually makes more sense if you think about it, that a sphere can travel really well through the air, through the atmosphere. They're more compact when they're a sphere versus when they open up. And when they open up, they looked very much like a fixed wing small airplane. But they started out in this video as a silver sphere with no lights. And so it makes sense to me when these New Jersey state troopers sent up their own drones. And when they sent up their own drones, what did they see? They saw these drones that looked like a fixed wing aircraft. The lights went out, they disappeared. Why? Because they turned into a sphere with no lights, and the drone took off. And that doesn't mean that it's alien technology, doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial. It just means that somebody has some really good technology. Who that is, I don't know. Allison, China manufactures a lot of drones. They did sell drones to Iran. In the hearing, they said China drones technology is 10 years ahead of us. It is. And that's exactly why we're going to get into this in a little bit, why Donald Trump is canceling the contract with Lockheed Martin over I think it was the F-25s. I'll have to go back and look. I've got a note on that here somewhere. But he is canceling that contract exactly because of that, because China is ahead of us. But these are not Iranian drones. I would pretty much bet my life and stake my life they're not Iranian drones. And why? Because they're not just being seen in New Jersey. How many drones does Iran have? They don't have that many drones. I don't think any country has that many drones. It would have to be a collaborative effort from all of these different countries to all gather their drones together. And then they would have to all have the same drone. So there's nothing like that makes sense. So you know what? I was going to talk about this later in the show, but we'll just talk about it now because I do think it's very important to talk about. Mary, it sounds like a kid's Transformer toys. It does, doesn't it? It does sound like exactly like a kid's Transformer toy, but I don't think it's out of the realm of the technology we can develop. I really don't. I don't think it's crazy to say, well, we have these these drones that travel or pack away as spheres, and then they open up. I mean, they're not manned, of course. They're just unmanned drones. They're similar to toys, quite honestly. So we're gonna talk about this here for just a second. So, or for a couple minutes anyway, about the drones now, and then we're gonna move on to a lot of other things. But first off, we know that people are wanting to say they're Iranian drones. There's the big mothership off to the side, and that these Iranian drones are taking over across the country. We have Jeff Van Drew, who is, of course, part of the. He's a New Jersey congressperson. He is on the House Judiciary Committee, and I'm going to show you a little clip from him really quick. Good morning, Glasna. And Glasna, you're just in time to talk about drones. And Roberts replying to Mary, but I am super skeptical of his motives. His net worth rocketed up 60%, talking about Elon Musk, to over 400 billion, like Perot before him, hooked to the government. You know what, Robert, as long as he's doing good things, I feel like he's our own Soros. That Elon Musk is our own Soros. I mean, Soros on the Democrat side, we have Elon Musk on our side. It's good against evil. I hope somebody makes a Marvel series out of it, the good and evil Elon Musk against George Soros, because that's exactly how I see the situation. And if George Soros can fund Democrat policies with millions to billions of dollars, why can't Elon Musk? And Robert, of course, I don't think you would argue against that. Why couldn't Elon Musk do the same thing? We need our own superhero in this situation. So I'm going to play this clip. This is from Jeff Van Drew. He's talking on, I believe this is Fox National, about this being an Iranian mothership, which I absolutely do not believe.
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and from very high sources, and from very high sources, very responsible sources. I'm going to tell you the real deal. I'm going to tell you the real deal. Launched a mothership. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago. That contains these drones. That mothership is off. I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones. Everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, we know there was a probability. It could have been our own government. It's not our own government. Because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology. But let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine, or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possible.
Okay, so I don't believe I absolutely do not believe it's Iran. I would bet and stake my life on it. I might be wrong. You guys might be telling me in a couple days that I was wrong, that it is Iran. I don't believe it is. Does Iran have a mothership based in every country? Because these drones are seen in every single country, and they're the exact same drone. They don't have a mothership based right here in Shiloh, Illinois, or in Tennessee. And Kim says they're Chinese drones, and they're gathering intel on military installations and other areas that our enemies shouldn't have access to or intel. I don't believe that either, Kim. And the reason why, the reason why I don't believe that is there's too many of them. There are entirely too many of them. They're all over the world. China doesn't have that many drones. At least I don't think they do. China could potentially surprise us. I don't think they're Chinese drones. I really don't. But that's just my opinion. I don't work for the DOD, so I don't know. And Robert says, I get it. I always have selected, not elected, talking back about, I believe, Elon Musk. Good morning, Bill. And I don't believe that there's an Iran mothership off the coast of New Jersey. I think everyone's focusing so much on New Jersey. Jersey is just one little tiny piece of the puzzle. We're seeing these drones everywhere. I just saw videos last night from, sorry, Bill, are my videos echoing? I can fix that. And I think I can fix that. I've been having all kinds of weird sound things, so I've been kind of playing around with the sounds a little bit. And, And Dottie, no one considering Hollyweird. Good morning, Rob. We have to do the process of elimination here. Now, is it our military? If it is, do we have that many drones? Do we have enough drones to cover the entire world, to be in multiple places in every country? Because these drones are being seen everywhere. Go out and look at the videos. I try to post them on my Facebook page, but I don't post them all because I know people are sick of seeing them. But they're everywhere. They're in Canada. They're in Brazil. They're in Iran. Actually, they're in all of these different countries. And yet, I haven't seen any in China. Maybe that means something. But people in China aren't as free to post, as we are here. I don't know. They're all over the place, and they're all over our own country. They're in Arizona. They're in Tennessee. They're in Missouri. They're in Illinois. In this area, up in Chicago. I don't think, does any country have that many drones to cover so many different areas? Even China, do they have that many? Does China care about what's going on in Brazil? I mean, do they want Brazil is no threat to them whatsoever. So I don't understand who is making these drones, the process of elimination. Who has the ability to produce this many drones? Who has the technology to make this type of drone? And by technology, even if you don't believe me about these drones being a sphere that somehow unfolds into a fixed wing looking drone, even if you don't believe that exists, the technology we know exists is that they can hover in place for many hours, many hours. And, I was trying to think in my brain about technology and how that could be possible. And that's why I still am not saying that it's like alien technology. People want to say, well, we don't have the ability to produce some type of drone that has the ability to just sit still, hover for, 10 hours, 12 hours, because the battery would die. They don't run that way. Well, I think there are ways to do it, especially if it's true that it starts out as a sphere. It's very possible. Now, you guys are probably going to tell me I'm wrong, and trust me, I probably am wrong. I don't know a whole lot about manufacturing or of course, the type of technology our military contractors build. But let's just say, as an example, if let's say the U.S. military, we could build a drone that looked like a sphere, and when it was in the sphere shape, it operated like a drone. It had the battery of a drone. And in that case, it could go to all of these different locations and fly around, put itself into place. Well, then what if it opens up into the fixed wing looking small aircraft, like we're told, and like I've seen on video that it does? Well, what if it does that? And then it has a different type of technology that runs on some type of a fuel. It's possible. Look at the oh, what is it called again? Of course, I'm not going to remember what it is, but there was a military aircraft that was small, and it kind of reminded me of these. I talked about it the other day, and of course, I don't remember what the name was. But either way, it looks like a drone, but yet it runs on fuel. And so maybe it's like a mixed technology. I mean, who knows? Our government's coming up with all kinds of crazy things, and maybe this is just me trying to figure out a way to understand it. And Glassnut, I don't think he's bald-faced lying, as you put it. I don't think that he's lying. I think someone actually told Jeff Van Drew that there's an Iranian mothership out in the Atlantic with these drones. I just think that whoever told him that is either wrong or they're guessing, just like everybody else is. I think everyone is guessing. I think there's a lot of false information out there because it's not just about New Jersey. If Iran has the mothership outside of New Jersey, then we're going to have to believe that Iran has a mothership on every coast, because these drones are being seen everywhere, not just New Jersey, not just New Jersey. So does Iran have the capability, or do they have the interest and the funds? Think about that, the funds to build, thousands of drones. Do they have the manpower to operate thousands of drones at the same time? I don't know any country that does, quite honestly. Is it a defense contractor? Maybe a defense contractor has built some type of new technology and they're testing it out. If they have, maybe they haven't told anyone. It's an open-ended question. There's a lot going on. And Mary says a hybrid. I think it could be a hybrid drone. And that's just my personal thinking with absolutely zero schooling on drones or airplane technology. I'm just trying to think in my head how something can be a sphere and then open up and to look like a small fixed wing aircraft and manage to stay, in the same general area for hours on end, because we're told that there is no technology that will allow any drone, especially a drone of that size, to operate for multiple hours, multiple hours. So think about that. And yes, Glesna, somebody definitely does know. And maybe they're not telling us because they think we don't want to know or that we shouldn't know. So then we're going to listen to this video here with Sabrina Singh. Now, Sabrina, if you're familiar with Sabrina Singh, she is the Deputy Defense Press Secretary, and she was asked very pointedly about these drones.
Jen.
Sabrina, can you tell me what the Pentagon is doing to address this issue of drone sightings over New Jersey? It's near sensitive over New Jersey. It's near installations. The FBI is involved. What is installations? The FBI is involved. What
so
is
at
the
this
Pentagon
time,
doing?
so aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
Sorry about that, guys. I switched things because I don't know. This is how my settings used to be, and I have to keep changing them because I think they keep changing the software on me. So I apologize. What I was saying is that we don't know what to believe. It's a shame that we can't trust our government, that we can't believe what they tell us. I wish that we lived in a country where our military told us the truth, but they don't. So the Department of Defense, are they telling us the truth? Are they not telling us the truth? Will we ever know? Quite honestly, I don't know. I think we're just going to have to see it play out. But as you heard Sabrina Singh state, it is not a foreign adversary. It is not. It is not a Chinese drone, obviously, because it's not foreign. It's not our own military. It's not Iran. If it's not Iran, it's not China. It's not foreign. It's not our own American military. Then who exactly is it? That's what I would like to know. If it's not any of these people, then who is it? Who is doing this? Who do these drones belong to? I don't think they could potentially belong to a private contractor. What private contractor has the money to send up drones all over the world? Somebody could say Elon Musk, guy's got $400 billion, but it would probably cost all of his $400 billion to build this type of drone and place them all over the world, right? So in the end, we really still have no answers. We're still going to have to see how it plays out. And then, then the question is why? And Robert says, not the truth. They know if it is us or someone else. Well, no, that's exactly what she said, Robert. It's not us and it's not someone else. So what does that leave us with? It's not U.S. military. It's not a foreign adversary. So what does that leave us with? it leads us to private contractors, extraterrestrial, private people. I don't think any private person. Then we have to leave it to our own deduction to figure out who it is, or that they're lying to us, which is also certainly a more probable, response. But I don't think it's Iran. I don't think Iran has the funds. I don't think they have the capability. And even if they had drones from China, they wouldn't have that many. Iran doesn't have billions of dollars to purchase all these drones, and I don't see it being China either. So we'll see. But then the other question is what are they doing? What are they looking at? Why are they here? And I personally, my own personal theory, and you don't have to share this theory with me. It's just my own theory. Like if we're sitting around a table talking and sharing theories, because I would love to hear your theories. My theory is that it has always been this, always, is that whatever we call UFOs or UAPs, whether that is American military, whether it is foreign military, whether it's alien technology, whether these are unmanned drones or manned drones from another dimension, I don't know. But what I do know, what I absolutely do know, is that they are always seen over areas of catastrophe, always. And they are always seen over areas of conflict like war. You can go back, you can look at but Dottie, it's only a distraction if you let it be a distraction. And I'm going to talk about that too. It's only a distraction if you let it be a distraction, because here on this show, we're going to talk about everything that's going on in the world. So it's certainly not a distraction to us. Is it to some people? I would normally say yes, but quite honestly, most people just aren't paying attention. And I'm going to talk about that too, because I think that's a very interesting concept that people are not talking about it. Lori, I just got on and may have missed this. Is there a common denominator of where they are populating? There's probably, it seems like, more in the New Jersey area than other areas, although I have heard, and I think what's different about New Jersey, why so many people are paying attention to New Jersey, is that they're there every single day. They've been there since November 17th or 18th, and they're there every day. People can walk outside of their house and take videos of them. They're flying around over people's homes. There must be a reason why they're concentrating in New Jersey. And I might have the answer to that, of course, but and it goes back to the theory of them being over areas of catastrophe, or maybe studying, maybe observing what's going on here. Not, and this can go again, whether it's extraterrestrials, whether it's people from a different dimension, whether it's people traveling back in time. I personally believe, and I know I'm going off the deep end here, but I personally do believe that humans after us, and maybe even before us, and continue to evolve with technology. And I do believe that somewhere down the road, we will have the ability to time travel. And I do believe that there will be a time when people who far ahead of us, people who've, come to this earth long ahead of us, they do have the ability to look back at history and go back and visit those areas and see what went wrong or what went right. How did things change? Just like right now, if we were able to time travel right now, what would you do? I'd want to go back in my little drone and I'd want to take a look at the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. I would want to go back and look at what happened in Pompeii. There's so many different things, if I had the ability to time travel, that I would go and do. And I'm not saying these people are time travelers by any means. I'm just saying that we see UFOs, we see UAPs over catastrophes, over wars. And it wouldn't surprise me if people didn't say, well, they've come here from another planet, time travelers have come back in time, or some other entity is there to observe, to learn from history, whatever their future might be and how these events changed whatever happens in the future. I know that's going down a very serious rabbit hole. And so, Lori, what catastrophe is going on in New Jersey? Well, it's not what's going on. It's what could potentially happen in New Jersey. And take a look at this. So I made this myself. If you look at this here, let me take myself out of the equation here. If you look at this is exactly where the UFOs are being seen. Look at Bedminster. You see Bedminster here on the map, right? Bedminster, that's where Trump's home is. And if you kind of look, Trump's home is like right in the middle of the Ramapo fault line. This is a fault line. The line you see in black is a major fault line. And a lot of people do believe that if we ever have a major earthquake in this area, that New York and New Jersey and will just sink into the ocean because they will be separated, or they'll float out and become, islands. But there's a lot of people who believe that some point down the line we could have a major earthquake here. And so is it possible that whatever these, and I'm not talking this, that there is going to be a catastrophe here. Is it possible that whatever these drones are, that they are in this area, and let's just say they are our military drones or they are private contractor drones, is it possible they are in this area to surveil the Ramapo fault line? Maybe they're here to say, okay, well, this is the fault line, and if there's ever a major earthquake here, this is how we're going to predict it, or this is how we're going to manage it. I don't know, but I think it's awfully strange that these drones are being seen over fault lines. They're being seen over fault lines, not just in New Jersey, but all across the world. And you can go and you can do your own research and connect your own dots. They're being seen over the New Madrid fault line here in Missouri. They're being seen over military bases. Perhaps this is just a big surveillance effort on the American government. And Edgar Casey, Robert says, foretold the splitting of the U.S. along the New Madrid fault line. Yes, that is true. We had 7 small earthquakes on Monday on the New Madrid fault line. And we're in a very contentious time right now when it comes to, I'm going to leave this up there for just a second so you guys can ponder what I'm talking about here. And you can tell that exactly where these drones are being seen in New Jersey is exactly over this fault line. This is exactly where they are, is over this fault line. And the reason why I think it's possible is that, right now, there's a lot of talk going on, and this is true scientific talk. It's not a bunch of people making predictions, is that we're having this really strange planetary alignment that's taking place right now. And because of that planetary alignment, it is pulling the tectonic plates. And that is what is causing, allegedly, these are scientists talking about this. I am not a seismologist, but they are talking how the planetary alignment does absolutely affect our gravity and our gravitational pull. They're talking about the poles switching. We know that in the history, the poles have switched and reversed. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now to our planet. And I'm wondering if these drones are all over the world in an observationary type of role. They're monitoring for tectonic plate shifts. And I'm not talking about ETs or extraterrestrials. I'm talking about the United States government, or maybe NATO, or maybe all governments are involved in some kind of a project to look at potential damage from earthquakes, because allegedly these planetary alignments are causing, again, the tectonic plates to pull. And that is what is causing some of these major earthquakes we're seeing, not only here in the United States, but up in the Pacific Rim, up in the Cascadian region. There's 2, I know there's at least 2 volcanoes we're watching, one in the Philippines that has erupted, the one in Alaska they believe is close to erupting, and they're claiming that if anything's going to happen, they're predicting that we could have an earthquake up to an 8 or 9 magnitude by December 20th. So is it that they are watching? I'm trying to think of a less sinister, less nefarious approach to these drones, that perhaps they are American made, and that our government doesn't want to tell us that we're facing potentially catastrophic earthquakes. Not that these earthquakes are going to happen, but that there's the possibility that they could happen. That they're up there using these drones to map out these fault lines. And I don't think it's any coincidence that these drones are being seen so heavily over this Ramapo fault line in New Jersey. So that's just one of the theories that I'm thinking about. Now, my theory means a whole lot of zilch, quite honestly. But I have noticed that where we're seeing these drones again, where are we seeing them? Over conflict, over military bases, and over areas that could be catastrophic. So, catastrophic damage. So I don't know. We'll just have to play it out. There's only so much we can do, so much we can say, and so much we can speculate over what could and could not happen. But if I had to guess, if somebody held a gun to my head and said, why do you think and hopefully nobody does that. Why do you think all these drones are, across the world? That would be my guess, that they are American drones, or a combined effort from different countries. We've got drones out. We're looking at tectonic plate changes. We're mapping things out, and we're planning a what if scenario. Now, if all of these drones disappear by December 20th, then you guys better remember that I was right. I don't know that that's going to happen, but if they're gone by December 20th, then I'm right. There's also a lot of other people who think, well, their drones are up there because of Trump's inauguration, that they're watching and surveilling and gathering data from different sources that are planning on conducting missions. Now, there's on X, there's a page I follow. It's a guy. I'm assuming it's a man, and they're anonymous, and they claim that there's somebody from the government that just has an X account to relay data, a lot like what Q is. Now, this person claims that these drones are in New Jersey because of a potential biohazard or potential bombing hazard. They believe that we, the United States, have faced threats that somebody is going to release biohazards, bioweapons into this area of New York and New Jersey, and that we're under the threat of being bombed in this general area, so that these drones are just observing, making sure that nothing's going on. But again, I don't believe that scenario, because they're being found all over the world, including last night right here at Scott Air Force Base. So I don't know. You know what? I don't want to spend too much more time on it. We've talked about it enough, but we'll be keeping up to date, because every day something is new. And you know what? The other flip side of this is that, why aren't people paying attention? Why doesn't anyone want to talk about it? People I know don't want to talk about it. They say, wow, that's just a waste of time. It's nothing. Well, yeah, it is something. Well, when have we ever had a time in our history where we had all of these drones flying around very mysteriously, behaving in very mysterious ways, and with no known reason? We can't look at them and say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, we have no idea what they're doing. They don't appear to be doing, quite honestly, they don't appear to be doing anything. They're flying around like they're, in a joyride. And if you guys have seen some of the video coverage, I shared one on my Facebook page last night where they were going off. They looked like sparklers, like they were having fun up there in the sky. Some people think they look like they're talking to each other. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And to me, anyone is crazy for not wanting to get to the bottom of it, not wanting to understand. It's so funny to me, though, how we've become, as Americans. We're so busy, we're me included. Somebody asked me if I'd see them, and I haven't even seen the light of day, and I don't know how long. I'm always working, and I haven't even been outside. So no, I haven't seen anything. But how can we not pay attention? How can you not care that this is going on? How can you not question what these drones are? Why aren't we demanding answers? If I lived in New Jersey, I would be demanding answers. If I had drones flying over my house every night, I would be demanding answers. But we're probably going to find out soon. We're going to find out soon, because you know what? Soon, somebody's going to shoot one of these things down. There's already people on social media saying, you know what? I'm ready. If one flies over my house, I'm going to shoot it down. They're not expected to be manned. What are the repercussions if you shoot one down? Are you going to go to prison for the rest of your life? Did you destroy a multi-million-dollar drone, and the military is going to come and pick you up and take you away? I don't know. I think it's going to happen sooner or later, though, because there are some people out there who are very fearful. And me personally, I think we should all get a bus together and drive out to New Jersey, or drive out to where these drones are, and try to figure it out for ourselves. But no one seems to really be doing a whole lot of anything, and it's so strange to me. And sorry, Elizabeth, I don't know why the sound would be going in and out. I apologize for that. If that was during the video, maybe, or just me talking, I'm not sure. But as far as a distraction, I think it was Dottie that said about the distraction. Yes, it could be that our government is trying to distract us, but if they are, they're not doing a very good job, because quite honestly, no one cares. I think it's so funny to me that we could have a flat out alien invasion. And I'm not saying that's what this is, but let's say we had a flat out alien invasion. And this just goes to show no one would even care. No one even cares about aliens. It's so funny to me. When I was a kid, aliens were such a big deal. And now as an adult, no one cares about aliens. We have these congressional hearings where they literally tell us that yes, aliens exist, extraterrestrial life exists. We have had them in captivity. We fed them this. We did this with them. We treated their health situations. We did all of these different things. They've, harmed us. We've harmed them. They visit our country. It's this group and that group. They tell us all this under testimony, under, perjury laws. They tell us that aliens are real, that UFOs and UAPs are real, that there is life outside of this planet, but yet nobody believes it. No one wants to believe it. No one cares. And then we keep saying, well, Trump needs to tell us the truth about aliens. Trump needs to reveal everything he knows. Well, they've already revealed everything they know. Go back and look at the Grush interviews, David Grush. He told us everything there is to know under oath, everything there is to know. Go back and look at the Grush video. And T-Roy just sent you a link you may find useful. I'm sure I will find it useful. And I will take a look at that as soon as I can. And Robert, since COVID seems like most don't care about anything, driving is wild. Since then, people drive like maniacs. Nobody cares about anything. Cindy, an older man shot down a drone and was arrested. Yes, I do believe that you will be arrested if you shoot down a drone, because that is, the government said they can't even. As a matter of fact, if you saw that video a few minutes ago I played of Jeff Van Drew talking about shoot him down. Well, General Flynn, I don't know if you guys heard General Flynn's rebuttal to that. General Flynn was like, he doesn't believe it's Iran either. And General Flynn was like, you cannot shoot them down. You just cannot shoot them down. Because they're over homes. They're not just out over the ocean. These drones are over people's houses. They're zipping around through the sky, at all times of the evening, never during the day, but at all times of the evening. And they're right over people's houses. You cannot shoot them down. They're not over a cornfield. They're over populated areas. So you cannot just shoot them down. And so that's really just not an option. So, and Lori says, for some, I think people's shock value is gone. I think so too. And Pam says, I just saw a post, of sightings at Lake of the Ozarks. It is happening all over this country, all over the world. And it blows my mind. I am more shocked by people's reactions than I am the drones themselves. I am more shocked by people's reactions, because why don't people wonder what's going on? I know we're all busy, but for gosh sakes, people need to take like 30 minutes out of their day and think, gee, why are these drones flying all over the world? What do they want? Because guess what? That's the next question, right? What do they want? We'll talk about that tomorrow, because I don't have the faintest clue what they want. What do they want? Why are they here? Let's just say they are extraterrestrial. Let's just say they are. I don't think they are. I don't think extraterrestrial drones would need to have the lighting systems they have. So I do not think they're extraterrestrial, but let's just say if they were, what are you going to do? Do you care? No, people don't care. If you told everybody right now in the country, those are actually alien UFOs, nobody would even believe it. No one would even believe it. They would say that's not true. They'd say that's just a bunch of MAGA propaganda, or they would say the government's lying to us. We would never believe it. Our brains won't allow ourselves to wrap the truth around and believe that extraterrestrials or UFOs exist. Maybe that's my problem. I keep saying, well, it's not UFOs. It can't be. But maybe it is. Maybe it can be. We'll talk about that again tomorrow if there's anything new to talk about. Cindy, off topic, Tabitha, but St. Charles people, there's a Francis Howell School Board meeting tonight. Show up if you're concerned about the bathroom policy. Show up. If you're in the Francis Howell area and you care about what happens at that set of schools, please show up, because but things are getting ready to change under Trump. Soon these issues will be a thing of the past. But as of right now, it is important to show up, because we have to make sure that these schools do the right thing. And Francis Howell especially. I hate to say it, but Francis Howell, I've reported over the years about them having the kids that are furries who think they're cats, who have litter boxes in the bathrooms, and Francis Howell has gone completely overboard with all this ridiculous stuff. And Cindy says, they say there's no public outcry. Show them that there is. I'm completely with you on that, Cindy. Jay, I would bet many of these additional sightings are not related to New Jersey. People are seeing in the news and everyone assumes because I saw one mentally. Well, here's the thing, Jay, they are the same, because you can look at the video. Whatever these things are, they're not shy. Now if you send a drone up, it disappears. If you use binoculars and try to look at it, it disappears. However, they don't mind you taking videos and photos. Whatever these things are, they do not mind. They don't care. And people are taking videos, they are taking photos. And if you go out and look, maybe I don't sleep. I wake up every morning, 4:30 on the dot. Can't help it. I don't even need an alarm clock. And at 4:30, when I wake up in the morning, I spend about 30 minutes researching different topics. And I have looked at these videos from all over the world. They are the exact same drone, the exact same one. They're not different shapes. They're not weird UFOs like cigars and other things. They have the exact same lights, the exact same formations. They're doing the exact same things. In my opinion, they are the exact same drones. Why? How it all works? I don't know. I don't know. Cindy says, when my nephew was in high school in Hillsborough, Missouri, a few years ago, this happened. The students walked out and made the point. I remember when that happened, Cindy, when the kids walked out. But Trump is going to change all of this. The reason why we have these bathroom policies is because of Biden. Biden told schools, he told the Board of Education, he told schools, public schools in America, that if you don't allow boys in the girls' bathroom and locker room, if you don't allow girls in the boys' locker room and bathroom, if you don't make your policies inclusive to where all genders can use one bathroom or provide a special bathroom for transgendered kids, then and it goes into the sports too, allow boys and female sports, females and boys sports, then you'll lose your Title IX funding. So to some degree, it's not the school's fault, to some degree, but I'm going to hold them accountable, because there are a lot of schools in the United States who stood up to that mandate and said, you know what, we are not doing that to our kids. I don't care what Joe Biden says. And as far as I know, none of them lost their Title IX funding. I think it was just a big threat and a big bluff. So I'm not giving Francis Howell a pass on that one, because I'm not aware of any of these schools losing Title IX funding because they did not honor these ridiculous policies of Joe Biden administration. So they're not going to get a free pass on that. However, there might have been some schools who were worried they would lose their Title IX funding. Now that's all going to change. Trump has already said that's all going to change. On day one, remember how when Biden, sat down with that big stack of fake books? We know they're fake because there's photos of them. There's no writing in those books. But he sat down with this big stack of books and immediately changed everything Trump did on day one. Well, Trump's going to do the same thing, but there will be writing in those books. And one of the things that he's going to do is, and tackle right off the bat, is get rid of all this ridiculous DEI nonsense that's taking place across our country. He is going to ban biological males from participating in female sports on day one. No biological men or boys are going to participate in female sports. Not going to happen anymore. He is not going to allow schools to allow boys into girls' locker rooms or restrooms, or girls into boys' locker rooms or restrooms. Under Donald Trump, there will be two genders. You're either a biological female or you're a biological male, and you're going to go into the bathroom that best suits you for your biological identity. Not what you identify as, but your biological entity. Now, where that stops is private institutions. If you go to a private school, Donald Trump doesn't have any rule over what a private school does. And when it comes to businesses, Donald Trump doesn't have any right to tell you, if you own a business, what you do. So if you own a business and you have one stall for males and females, or don't care where people go, that's up to you as a business. That's not the government's decision, and it shouldn't be the government's decision. And so those are some things that are going to take place. He's going to ban puberty blockers for minors. We are no longer going to pay for transgender surgeries. That's something that's going to happen and should have happened a long time ago. And now I don't know if this is true, but there's a lot of people who say that Donald Trump is going to have a policy where anyone who is in the military who is transgendered is going to have to retire. Now, I don't know that that's true. I have a hard time believing that Trump would institute a policy like that, because I do believe that there are transgendered people in our government and in our military that play very vital roles. Just because they're transgender doesn't mean they can't do their job. So I hope that policy is not true. I think we have to still be supportive and inclusive of different people in some areas. Should the government pay for transgender surgery when you're in the military? No. Should we be paying for transgender surgery for people in prison? No. Should we be paying for abortions? Absolutely no. And Donald Trump plans to defund Planned Parenthood. And I honestly don't have a problem with Trump defunding Planned Parenthood. I would rather, here's my thing, I'm going to backtrack on that a little bit. If Planned Parenthood would promote abstinence and birth control, and they provided free birth control, I'm all about free birth control. Give everybody free birth control. Everybody, I'm perfectly fine with that. Promote abstinence, have programs that promote abstinence and birth control. But do not promote abortion. Abortion should be the very last resort for people who believe in abortion. I personally don't. But for the people who do, that should be the very last resort. But that's not what's happening. We have people, right here in our own country, where we have about 500,000 abortions every year, many of them committed by the same person, the same woman. And why? Because they use birth control as a form of abortion. That's when I have a problem. I have a really big problem with that. And so that's going to be some of the things that Trump is going to tackle. As I said earlier, he's going to cancel the F-35 contract with Lockheed Martin, and for a lot of the same reasons that we were just talking about with these drones. Allison says promote adoption. That's absolutely true, Allison. Promote adoption, and we definitely need to promote adoption, because some of these women who may end up having a child because they're not getting an abortion, not able to get an abortion, are hopefully, it's very sad to say, but at the same time, when I say there's about 500,000 abortions each year, there's also about 130, 140,000 children that are seriously neglected and abused. And so we have to tackle that problem too, especially if that number skyrockets because women aren't able to get an abortion. That's something to think about. And he's going to cancel this F-35 contract with Lockheed Martin. Because why? Because China is winning the race on fighter jets. They are winning. They're beating us. Their military is where they're militarily becoming stronger because of their technology. And Lockheed Martin, they're just not keeping up. Now, what we're going to do from there, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many options there are. Maybe Elon Musk is going to start making fighter jets. I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put him past it at all. So those are some things on Trump's agenda. I think we're going to see a lot of policy changes in Trump's time. I don't think any of you would be surprised by that. Speaking of, Trump is going to build did you guys see this? He's building a Trump Tower in Saudi Arabia. Now, I am personally not a fan of that plan. It looks beautiful. I've seen the plans of it. Some of you probably have also. It looks absolutely amazing. So I've heard that Saudi Arabia is a beautiful country. I wouldn't know, because most of us as Americans can't go to Saudi Arabia. And if you do, you have to have an escort the entire time you're there. You are not free to just roam around in Saudi Arabia as an American. They don't like us there, believe it or not. Even though the new King Prince, I think he's a better person than his father was. But I just said, did I just say King Prince? Crown Prince. And, things are a little bit better there than what they were at one time with Ben Salman. But still, I don't know why Trump would want to build a tower there. I consider Saudi Arabia to be our enemy, believe it or not. And speaking of enemies, and if you guys are just joining the show, we spent a lot of time talking about drones. So if you care about drones, if you want to hear about drones, you'll have to go back and watch from the beginning, because I'm not going back and talk about it anymore today. But we will talk about it again on probably tomorrow if there's some new information. I was glad to hear this, speaking of our adversaries, is Congressman Thomas Massie asked Americans to pray for the Christians in Syria. Why? Because they are dismantling the churches in Syria. As a matter of fact, people don't believe me. It's so funny to me that people don't believe some of the stuff that I come on this show and say, and I will tell you. And Jay says, I lived there for 4 years, no escort required. Well, then Jay, we'll have to talk about that sometime, because every single person I have talked to who is a contractor, if you go online and even look at the Saudi Arabia tourism information, they tell you that you could not travel alone without an escort or some serious watching over while you're there. But anyway, so maybe that's why people don't believe me. Maybe I'm just wrong. But but that is what I am told. I've never been to Saudi Arabia, but from the folks I know who have been, that are contractors, particularly government contractors. So anyway, so this is in Syria. They are tearing down, dismantling Christian churches across Syria. This is a Christian church. They're going in, taking out the pews. There's several other videos like this where they're just tearing the churches apart, getting rid of all of their beautiful artwork. Some of these churches, you have to remember, Damascus is the oldest city. It's the oldest city. It's been there for 4,000 years. Some of these were the original churches from Jesus's time, and they are tearing them down, dismantling them, burning them in some cases. And Jay, I believe you, but that is exactly what I've been told. And Joe Adams, Colonel Adams, good morning, Colonel Adams. He's friends with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I would love, to talk about him sometime, because I think he's such a refreshing change from his father. For anyone who doesn't know anything about the Crown Prince bin Salman, when he came into power, he arrested so many people. He's kind of like the Donald Trump of Saudi Arabia. He got everybody out. All these people, all these corrupt politicians that were there, part of his father's regime. He got rid of all of them literally on day one. It was hundreds of people that were fired, and some jailed, some taken to court and jailed. So that's something to know about him. But going back to Syria, there's videos. If you're a Telegram subscriber, you can go on to Telegram. No other social media platform will allow you to view or see these types of, or post these types of things. But you can see, and I hate to say this, but you can see everything's on video these days, even terrorist activities. And these terrorists, they walk around just like people do in Ukraine, troops in Russia. They all have a camera. They're all video recording everything they do. And they are executing Christians. They are executing religious minorities in Syria. You can see them going door to door. They post videos of it every single day. They're tearing down the churches in Syria. And I'm so angry with some people who tried to argue with me and say, oh, it's the best thing we could ever do was take Assad out of Syria. And just like they said that about Gaddafi, just like they said that about Saddam Hussein, let's just get that dictator out. They're a terrible person. They murdered all of these different people. They were brutal and blah, blah, blah. Well, they were brutal because terrorists wanted to take over their country and kill everyone. That's why they were brutal. And that's no different with Assad. He did what he had to do to save his people. And unfortunately, the terrorists have won, largely to the United States, as you guys know if you listen to this show. And now we're facing a situation over in Syria where we have Israel coming in from one side. And it is funny how the media covers different things. In the media, if you look at American media, when Russia went into Ukraine, it was an invasion, right? It was a war. But now we have Israel, who has taken over the Golan Heights area, and they are not giving it back. And now they're heading towards Damascus. I'm surprised they're not in Damascus by now, but they're heading towards Damascus. They have fired so many rounds, which is a good thing. I'm not against Israel doing this, because it's just funny how the media portrays it. When it comes to Israel, they're safeguarding their border. They're securing their border. It's a buffer zone. But when it comes to Russia, they're invading Ukraine. The exact same scenario. Israel has absolutely no business in Syria. They have no business taking over the Golan Heights area. They have no business marching towards Damascus. They have no business destroying, these weapons and missiles and fighter jets. I'm glad they are. I'm certainly glad they are. That needs to happen, because the last thing we want is terrorists to have fighter jets and missiles, right? And that's the position we put them in. And at some point, considering we, the United States, support terrorism, and we, the United States, paid for the training of the terrorists that have taken over Syria. We've been doing that since Obama's time, not during Trump's time, but since Obama's time. And what are we going to do? Are we going to fight with Israel over this because they're destroying our hard work and efforts? It wouldn't surprise me. I knew years ago when I had a show and I talked about Syria quite a bit during the middle of the uprising, and I saw what they were doing, and this was Obama's term, and they were giving safe pass. They weren't killing the terrorists. Why? Because we supported the terrorists. They didn't kill the terrorists. They gave them safe passage. So remember all the horrific acts that ISIS did? They didn't kill those people. They imprisoned some of them. Now they're free again because the other terrorists have released all the terrorists in Syria. And so they gave them safe passage to Idlib, which is up in the northern northeast of Syria. So they gave all of these ISIS terrorists, other terrorists, there's a lot of different rebel groups that are terrorists. All of them gave them free passage. I remember the day they loaded them up on buses and took them all to Idlib, and they said, they set them up a town there. They're like, okay, stay here, be happy, do your Sharia law up here in this corner, kind of on the border of Turkey. Some of them went into Turkey. Just stay up there and leave the rest of the country alone. And that worked for a long time. And I knew when that happened, that was a bad idea. I knew it was a bad idea to give these people safe passage, people who had burned people alive in cages, executed innocent civilians, and they gave them safe passage. And guess what they did while they were in Idlib? They became more extreme. And they had Ukrainians over there training them. They had Americans over there training them. They gave them weapons. They gave them money. They gave them anything they needed. And guess what? They grew in numbers. And then once they reached the point over those last month or so, when Ukrainians were there training them, U.S. troops were there training them, guess what they did? They finally were powerful enough to take over Syria. And now all of a sudden, what's happening is these terrorists are killing Christians, just like that we expected they would. How it's going to play out, I don't know, because guess what? Now we've got to worry about is that there is another influx of, guess what, refugees. Some of them are Christians, some of them are Arab Christians, some of them are Alawites, some of them are Shiites. They're all trying to escape Syria because if they don't, they're going to die. The terrorists have already said that women are going to lose their rights. Women won't be able to drive. They won't be able to go to school, just like the Taliban. And guess what? We're giving the Taliban $10 million. Did you guys hear that? We've already given them billions of dollars. Now we're giving them 10 million with a proposed additional amount in the billions. Why are we giving the Taliban money? Why are we doing that? That's your money. That's your taxpayer money. We're giving to a terrorist organization. Your tax money paid for these terrorists in Syria to be trained to kill Christians. You know, the Biden regime, the Obama regime, the deep state, the cabal, wherever your term might be for these people, we know they're anti-Christian. But did you know they were so anti-Christian that they're funding terrorists to take over a country to literally kill the Christians? It's crazy. And people don't even know, people don't even wake up and see it. But yet it's happening. And of course, we're giving more money to Ukraine. Ukraine's not very happy right now. If you guys were at the beginning of the show, I played that little video of Zelensky. Well, we're going to give, $20 billion out of Russia's frozen assets. Russia is not having any of it. And I'll tell you, if there's anything I know, and you probably know about Russia and about Vladimir Putin, he doesn't bluff. The man does not play around at all. If he says, not like Iran, remember Iran, they'll say, oh, we're going to go do something. And eventually they might do something, but it's usually not a big deal. Russia, that's not Putin. When Putin says, I'm going to do something, he's going to do it. He will warn you. And then when he's done warning you, he does it. That's been his pattern all along. I've watched it. I'm sure Colonel Joe Adams has watched it. He's done it all along. And he's getting ready to do it again. I told you guys the other day that Ukraine once again launching ATACMS missiles into Russian territory. Big mistake, but Zelensky, he just wants to keep poking. Of course, Zelensky at our behest. We're the people holding the strings of Zelensky, of course. And he launched another long-range missile into Russia. Of course, Putin's very upset about that. And he said that, of course, what he said, and I'm trying to envision this in my head. Allison said 50 billion. Well, thank you for that, Allison. I know that they have a plan to send, where is my little note on that at? I know that we have a plan to take Russian money and, maybe I don't even have a note on it. Some of the stuff I write down, some of it I just kind of remember off the top of my head. And I don't know, Allison, my notes say 20 billion to Ukraine out of that money, but I know that we have a plan to send, I was told 20 billion over a number of years. So 20 billion per year, not just a one-time gift. They're calling it a loan. I call it a gift to Ukraine. But this is going to be taking place every single year. Now, of course, Trump is going to cancel that policy, so it doesn't really matter. But Russia has stated, Putin has stated that, and I'm trying to envision this in my head. Colonel Adams, if you're still around, I'm sure you can envision this a little bit better than I can. Well, Putin says, you know what? We don't need nuclear weapons. We don't need them. We have the Oreshnik. And one Oreshnik can hit 36 different targets. What happens if we send multiple Oreshniks missiles over to Ukraine? That is going to be a stronger response than a nuclear weapon would be. It'll cause more catastrophic damage than a nuclear weapon would be. Maybe at an entry point, we don't have the radiation and the fallout as you would a nuclear weapon. But so Russia has stated that they're planning on sending more than one Oreshnik missile over into Ukraine is in retaliation for the attack that Zelensky, of course, launched into Russian territory. That's a really big deal. That is a really big deal. If Putin does in fact use 2 or more Oreshnik missiles into Ukraine, it's going to be absolutely devastating. And I can't imagine there will be civilian casualties. There weren't the last time, but who knows? I think they've pushed Putin so far, and he's already said he's not going to lose. So where does that take us? And then, of course, we have what we are doing. And the UK, we're taking Russian frozen assets and giving it to Ukraine, whether it's 20 billion or 50 billion, whatever the amount might be, it doesn't matter. We're giving Russians frozen assets to Ukraine. That would be like, let's say, China freezing American assets and then giving it to our enemy and allowing our enemy to buy weapons to come and attack us. It is not a good scenario. And so therefore Russia, of course, their frozen assets, they still consider to be their assets. And they want their assets back, of course. And the last thing they want us to do as Americans is to fund Ukraine with their Russian money and allow Ukraine to use that money to come after them. And some of the other things that money is going to be used for allegedly is Ukraine is changing their, as we've spoken many times, they've run out of people to send to the front lines. There's nobody left. Everybody's 900,000, a little over 900,000 Ukrainian troops killed in this battle. They're out of people to send. And Ukraine will not, believe it or not, Joe Biden wants them to start drafting 18-year-olds. Ukraine said they will not do it. I'm kind of surprised with Zelensky. He said no to that. I think because he knows he's lost the confidence of his people. Well, he will not draft 18-year-olds, but they are coming up with a new plan. And what they're going to do, they're going to open the military age down to the 18-year-olds, and they're going to offer incentives. So in US dollars, they're going to offer $12,000 plus free tuition, and they're going to throw in this big bonus package to where if you join the military, if you're 18 years old, you're going to get this big payout and all the and $12,000 in Ukraine is a lot of money. So that's something that's going on, and where some of our money is going to be spent over in Ukraine. Well, of course, Putin not happy about any of this at all, because we just continue to fuel the fire. The blood, those lives, that's on our hands. We did that, and Putin knows that. The entire world knows it. I don't know if many Americans know, but the rest of the world does know. And so what's happening now is Russia said, you know what, the United States, you are no longer, you are no longer safe. You're going to lose your feeling of safety, because guess what? We don't want you to take our assets and give them to Ukraine. So therefore, we are going to retaliate against you. Now, I've not heard, and maybe Colonel Adams has, but I have not heard about what type of retaliation that will be. How does Russia want to retaliate against the United States? I don't know. I guess we'll soon find out. But Russia doesn't bluff. If they say they're going to retaliate against us, they will. That does not mean a missile. It does not mean a bomb. It doesn't mean they're going to attack us in our own land. It could be that they're going to, I would have to take a long look at how we benefit from Russia. Is it going to be that they're going to post sanctions against us, or are they going to stop something they're sending? I don't even know. I don't know what all we get from Russia, but they do claim they are going to retaliate. I believe they will. In what way? I don't know. And maybe that's just me being naive, thinking that they're not going to bomb us, or they're not going to do something militarily against us. I don't know. And typically when another country wants to harm us, they harm one of our bases in another country. So we'll see how all of that plays out. But there's a lot going on. I know some of you might be tired of hearing about foreign news, but what's important in foreign news is that everything that happens in another country does absolutely reflect, and it does hurt us here in our own country. Speaking of it, there's so much craziness going in the world. Taiwan claims there are 16 Chinese warships that are surrounding them. I see that as less of a big deal than maybe some other people do, because China has threatened how many times now? How many times have they sent warships to surround Taiwan and nothing ever happens? But I saw it in the news, and I know there's a lot of people who probably are concerned. I am not personally concerned, although right now would be a good time for China to make that move on Taiwan, because we are definitely distracted, if not with drones, then with the situation between Ukraine and Russia and with what's going on in Syria. So there's a lot over there to be talking about. Something that I wanted to touch base on, I only have a few minutes left, is avian flu. And the reason why I want to talk about avian flu is because it's going to be in the news. And so you might as well be prepared now for that. Avian flu has made the jump to Hawaii. And why that's a big deal is already in Hawaii, it is leading to the deaths. And I'm saying leading to the deaths because the avian flu itself is not necessarily what's killing all of the birds in Hawaii. A lot of it is, now that Hawaii knows that they have avian flu there, they are starting to come to people's homes and taking their animals, and I guess euthanizing them would be the best term I can come up with. And they had a situation in Hawaii where there were some people who owned some ducks and some geese, took them to some type of farmer's market show. I don't know, maybe like a 4-H club or something, I don't know, but it was some type of show for animals. And they didn't realize, of course, that their ducks and geese were infected with this avian flu. And therefore, it started spreading pretty rapidly through Hawaii. And why this is a big deal is, for a small island like Hawaii, small islands like Hawaii, it can be pretty devastating pretty quick. So we're probably going to hear a lot about that. The other thing is in Canada, there is a teenager who was, a lot of people get infected with avian flu because maybe you're handling your chickens or your ducks or whatever you might have, and you contract avian flu and you get the sniffles and maybe a sore throat and maybe some very minor respiratory symptoms. Well, there's been 2 cases now where people have had some very significant symptoms from avian flu. One, by the way, was in Missouri, but the one that's mostly in the news right now is taking place in Canada, because the case is a little bit different. It's a teenager and they're in the ICU. I don't think the prognosis is very good. And they contracted, they believe, avian flu from their dog, which is really a strange situation. This does not normally happen. And it's really getting a lot of attention right now. And I think it's going to gain more attention as it moves on. And so now there's a lot of talk that perhaps there's a new strain of avian flu, and that they're saying it could potentially kill up to 50% of the people it infects. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that it's going to be in the news. People are going to talk about it, and they're already talking about masks and lockdowns and all this other crazy stuff. But the reason why there's a big but behind all of this is because the information you read about there about these different viruses comes from the same people who want to lock us down in our homes, who want to put masks on us, who want to go back to COVID times. So I don't trust anything these people say. I don't trust any of it. Did this teenager in Canada actually, did they contract avian flu from their dog? I don't know. They're trying to tell us that it's in our milk supply, that it has made its way from birds to cattle, and now it's in our milk. And of course, they're coming after the raw milk industry, and which, no big surprise there. I don't trust anything these people say. But they're already talking about this is such a big deal that we're going to have to go and look again at lockdowns, look again at stopping the spread. They want to come out and they want to take your chickens and your ducks and your geese and your cattle. And what really frightened me when I was reading about this is they talked about a world famine. Now, with COVID, we didn't really face a world famine. They're talking about a world famine because they think that they're going to have to euthanize all of these cattle, particularly dairy cattle, because they have avian flu. And to stop the spread of avian flu, they were talking about euthanizing, hundreds of thousands of cattle, as well as chickens and ducks and geese. And that's a big portion of our food supply. We're going to have to track this and see where it goes, but we can't allow that to happen. We just cannot allow that to happen. We cannot allow them to euthanize a good portion of our food supply. And that's right here in the United States. We cannot allow this to happen. So we need to keep an eye on this story, see where it's going, because if they start talking about famine because they have to euthanize all these cattle and all of these different types of poultry, we're going to have a real problem. We're definitely going to have a real problem. And I don't know how well we can control it, but they're already talking about the avian flu being in the milk, being in the water supply, being in the cattle, and what they need to do to control it. So it's coming. The conversation is coming. Let's hope it doesn't get any further than a conversation. So that's about all I have for today. I want to make sure that everyone has a really good day. I will be back tomorrow, Friday. Can't wait. We'll see what's unfolding tomorrow. We'll probably, I don't know if I'll talk about drones tomorrow or not. It just depends on if anything new happens between today and tomorrow. If nothing new has happened, then there's really not much more to say. I think I've said everything I could today in the show about drones, unless there's some new information. I'm only going to hope. I know I hate to say this. It's not a manned drone. I wish one would crash, or I just wish some guy would go out or girl and shoot one of those darn things down over a field when there's no danger, if that's possible, of it crashing into anything. I don't know that that situation's possible. And I wish just people would recover it so we can see what it is. Maybe that's wishful and dangerous thinking on my part, but it sure would be fascinating to see, as long as there was no threat of anyone, of course, being injured. But we're going to come to a point with these drones where we are going to find out what's going on. We'll figure it out. One way or the other, we will figure it out. Or maybe they'll just disappear one day and we'll never know. We'll talk about it forever and never know. Well, some of us will talk about it forever because, as we said earlier, most people just don't care. All right. Well, that's it for me for today. I do hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Tomorrow's Friday. So, pre-Friday is always a happy day. I will look forward to talking to you all tomorrow. And I'm